Welcome to another episode of Do Ghosts Be Real Shorts. I am your lovely host, Brett, and today we are going to be looking at another haunted hospital. I told everyone in the last episode that I wanted to do a series on haunted hospitals, so I aim to stay true to my word. Now, before we begin, I want to kind of do some housekeeping, let everyone know what's up and how things have been going. So, first and foremost, thank you everyone who listened to the last podcast, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. It's been over a year since I've recorded, so I was kind of anxious to see how things would go and get feedback on the episode as a whole. Not to mention the fact that I've kind of upped my audio game just a little bit. I did pick up a new mixer, so hopefully this doesn't take too long for me to work the bugs out, because I've noticed a few things here and there. Lots of scrapped minutes of audio because I didn't quite like the way things sounded. So thanks everyone for kind of dealing with me and tolerating this adjustment period as I kind of get used to recording again, because it's been over a year, so things are different, things have changed. Not necessarily in a bad way, of course, but at the same time, it's just getting those Bambi legs working again, because I am a little shaky recording again, because there is also that anxiety that comes with, oh, is this going to sound good? Are people going to like it? All that stuff, because ultimately at the end of the day, I want to release something that I can be proud of and that people will enjoy listening to. That's kind of my major goal and why I decided to go to a bi-weekly format rather than every week, because I don't want to leave anyone feeling dissatisfied with the content that I'm putting out. So yeah, lately life has been a little crazy. Not many people know this because I'm pretty quiet on social media and all of those aspects of things, which I know I shouldn't be, but here we are. That's how I've always been. I've enjoyed my privacy, but I started in June. I started a sleeve, so I'm excited for when Do Ghosts Be Real to come back in a video format for all the listeners to check that out, because it's something I'm very proud of and I absolutely love it. And I'm excited for everyone to kind of see, how everyone in the group has grown, because all of us have grown. It's been over a year since the last podcast, and it's crazy how much changes in a year. I mean, this year I turned 29. Next year I'm 30. Like, life passes you by really fast. So sometimes you just have to stop and kind of appreciate the things you're able to do. And I'm just happy that I can share all this info and a podcast with people that'll listen. So, in any case, today we are going to be talking about the Old Changi Hospital that is in Singapore. And now there's a lot of history behind this hospital. I'll be doing a bit of an abridged version of it. I will do my best. This topic is rather dark, so if you do feel the need to kind of skip by the history part, I completely understand. In general, when we talk about old hospitals, there is always going to be trauma, but this one is particularly dark, just based on the historical significance of this building in World War II. So sit back, relax, and hopefully enjoy. I mean, I did a little research on this one, and it's a very interesting topic, and the haunting aspect of things, it's a lot more, how do I say this in a nice way? It's a lot more lively than the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. But at the same time, it is still a very dark place where a lot of people were healed, but ultimately, a lot of people lost their lives. The Old Changi Hospital was originally built in 1935 as part of the Royal Air Force, so Britain. They established it to kind of be a hospital and a base of military operations in World War II. Unfortunately, with the history of China and Japan and its occupation, Singapore did ultimately fall to the Japanese in 1942, leading to the occupation of the island by the Japanese military. Now, the hospital became a prisoner of war camp. So this became a site of tremendous human suffering, because if you do look into World War II and the way Japan treated China, atrocities happened, and this was no exception to that rule. It was used by the Japanese military police for interrogations, torture, and executions of both Allied prisoners and the civilians in the local population that they were suspected of being involved in resistance activities. After Japan surrendered in 1945, the Old Changi Hospital was returned to British control, but because of the damage that was done during World War II, there was tremendous renovations that needed to be done in order to be used for medical purposes. Ultimately, it did close in 1997, so realistically, not that long ago. I mean, I guess, yeah, I'm old, so so yeah, I guess it's over 20 years, so I guess I should say it was long ago, but not really. But when that happened, it ultimately closed due to newer medical facilities being built. So ultimately, that is a good thing. But at the same time, the pain and suffering that happened there in World War II remained. And this is where we get into our haunted portion, where we speak on, again, the energies of what tremendous human suffering will do to a location, and how these locations keep a energetic memory is the best way I can describe it. Is I think a lot of haunted locations are an energetic memory of terrible things that happened. A lot of times we don't have hauntings of good places, you know. So when we get into the hauntings themselves, it's your typical apparitions, you know, your unexplained sounds, your cold spots, your feeling of unease, and overall just a creepy atmosphere when you understand the tremendous weight of what took place at this hospital. The sad truth of it is, too, when you look at pictures, it looks very, well, like the British military did it. Because, I mean, it's not far off, but it's weird when we see these huge buildings like hospitals where all the glass has been smashed out of the windows, and it just has an eerie energy about it. And the fact is, knowing what took place there really adds to the whole creepiness factor of the hospital itself. The picture I'm currently looking at, actually, as I record this, it's very, well, it's in black and white, and it's been taken at night, and it's just eerie because everything is overgrown. It's dark, and you could only imagine the people who lost their lives there. You know, there's tons of, it feels so industrial, and because it's been shut down for so long and they don't want people trespassing, there's, a barbed wire gate, a chain link gate around it, and that just adds to the whole creepy aesthetic of this place where ultimately, when it was created, good intentions were meant to be had, but in reality, it turned into something even darker than we could imagine. Um, with the topic of human suffering, I have a very difficult time expressing it because I like to put myself in those people's shoes, and it's almost overwhelming to talk about. It's funny to say that as someone who hasn't personally experienced it, but anyone with empathy could, maybe feel how painful that is. Seeing pictures itself puts a heavy feeling in my chest, and it makes me just sad that humans are capable of such amazing feats, but we're also capable of the most incredible, horrendous acts that you could possibly imagine. And a lot of the time, it's for what? Because they look different than us, because they speak a different language than us, because we don't understand their political system, their beliefs, so we're able to do terrible atrocities to them. And this is just a running theme of the entirety of World War II. The entirety of World War II was a fucking disaster, pardon my French, but it makes me emotional to think about these kinds of things and the tremendous suffering that people did have to go through ultimately to get to the point that we're at today, where, myself, I don't share this very frequently, but I have terrible anxiety. I have issues like that. I do have mental health issues to a certain extent, but I could never imagine the heinous things humans have put each other through for, in my opinion, little to no reason. Just because someone was slightly different. And it really messes with me. So I'm done with that. I'm done with that kind of talk. Let's get back into the Old Changi Hospital. So first and foremost, we love our ladies in white. There's a number of legends about the Old Changi Hospital. One of them is the lady in white. And no, ladies in white usually represent tragedy or unrequited love. So is this someone's lover that their person never made it out? Or is this someone who dealt with extreme suffering and is forced to roam the halls of the Old Changi Hospital for the rest of eternity? I'm not one to have an opinion, but I'd like to think that eventually that person will find peace and move on. They also have one of my favorite things in the world: shadow people. Shadow figures. Shadows moving in dimly lit areas of the hospital. What are they doing and why are they here? This is a question I often ask myself. I understand apparitions. I understand seeing supernatural beings that look like humans. But shadow people, I have no explanation for. And I believe that's why, again, this seems to be a running theme. I'm so afraid of them because it's the unknown. What are they here? Are they humans? Were they humans? Or are they something much more sinister that we don't know about and will never know about until ultimately we pass? Or maybe not. Maybe ghosts aren't real, and once the lights go out, that's it. Unfortunately, that's a morbid way to think about things, and I don't like to think about things that way. But, on top of that, there's tons of weird things that happen at this hospital. They also say that electronic devices have issues there. They'll often malfunction. Maybe a light will shift. And weird occurrences will happen throughout the hospital for the people who are exploring them. That's definitely the one thing I never quite understood is, the whole, as funny as this is, the title, obviously, of Do Ghosts Be Real? I never understood why in these haunted places equipment seems to malfunction. What could that possibly be? Right? Because, when I'm at my house, I don't have equipment constantly malfunctioning, except for today. It's taken literally an hour to set up my mixer because settings got changed on it. And it's been cutting out letters, and I need to focus on projecting my voice in order for everything to be clear. So that's been lovely, but again, like I talked about at the beginning, that's just a bug that needs to be worked out. Some would call it a feature. I would not, because it's been an absolute pain in my ass. So I've just been kind of realizing, like, who's to say? Maybe a ghost was messing with my mixer, and that's why it took me an hour to get this thing started. It wasn't myself trying to hype myself up to get started, because I was excited for today's episode. I love more ghost lore from across the sea. It seems to be very interesting and a lot more dark than what we as Westerners have, there's Scissor Girl. There's a bunch of very creepy Japanese folklore, tons in the Philippines, tons and all over Asia, because unfortunately, we as North Americans are very focused on what affects us. And, if you look at Japanese and cinema, especially horror, they bring the scary to a whole nother level. So this is something to keep in mind. So maybe there is something to all these ghosts and theories and myths overseas, because they just hit differently than Western ghost stories and Western ghost media. That being said, this hospital, now out of use, does offer guided tours, but because of the structural damage done to the hospital, it's in pretty bad disarray. So it's kind of like a, enter at your own risk sort of thing. I think, just the fact that there's your typical, like, cold spots and unexplained noises, that makes me very nervous. They claim to see Japanese soldiers and prisoners and nurses dressed in old-fashioned uniforms, because you could imagine how scary that would be, especially if you were on not even a guided tour, if you're doing a ghost hunt and you just happen to see someone dressed up in full nurse's garb. Like, what is possibly going to happen? Me, I have a very warped thought process on ghosts in general. I mean, I know that guys make fun of me for believing in it to the extent that I do, but I a lot of the ghosts that I have quote unquote seen, we'll say in parentheses because we don't know if I actually saw them or if it was just me being half asleep. A lot of them, you see old clothing. You also see potentially methods in which these people passed, you know? So that's whether I actually saw that is to be determined, but it was very unsettling at the time. I'm wanting to say that it was a dream that I woke up from, and I still had remnants of that state in my mind. But again, this is Do Ghosts Be Real? And these are the questions that we need to ask. Was it real? Was it fake? Did I just make it up in my head? Who's to say? The only person that knows is me and whatever I've seen. So, yeah, I'm, I know the shorts aren't as information dense as people would like, and I understand that, but do keep in mind I am on a very tight time frame for doing actual research, and I get what I can, and like I said at the beginning, it's just going to be a very abridged version, and I'm going to continue to do it because I love doing it, and I hope everyone enjoys listening to it as much as I enjoy doing it. My biggest thing is it's not going to be releasing like every Tuesday or things like that. It's going to be when I have time to get it recorded, get it edited, and get it posted because I am a busy guy. This week, right now, it's my 60-hour work week. It's my busy week. But today is my day off, so I decided to do a little bit of recording. And I hope that's enough to just get everyone through for another 2 weeks, where I can really kind of sink my teeth into a deeper story and maybe do a little bit more research when I do have the time. But I am enjoying doing this, and again, if people want to get a hold of me, the best way to do it is just start YouTube. It's the honest truth. I mean, you can do the Instagram, but myself personally, I don't have access to the Instagram, so I'm probably the wrong person to try to get in contact to through the Instagram. And it's same deal with the email. Your best bet again is it's YouTube. YouTube is your best bet to get a hold of me. If you do know me personally, you are more than welcome to text me or ask me questions about any of that stuff. But again, it's going to be 5 to 6 business days, depending on how busy I am. So I do appreciate everyone listening. The last episode, last I checked, it had like 46 views. And for being off for a year, I was pretty pumped on that. I'm really happy that people listened and enjoyed, and I'm just glad to be back. Honestly, I'm glad to be doing something. I told the guys, as funny as this sounds, I needed a creative outlet. I've been going through it lately, and by me not having a creative outlet, it was just I was spinning my wheels and going crazy. So I appreciate everyone who's willing to tune in every couple weeks to listen to my rantings on ghosts and the paranormal. I appreciate all of you. Again, this is Brett with Do Ghosts Be Real? I'm checking off for the evening. So hopefully you have a great week, and I will see you the next time I post. Thanks.